on the internet again. Right? That's the official. All right, there it goes. It's sending. It said, you know me, I wait until I see it. I don't take anything for granted, and I don't have an EP. I don't have one. If I had an EP, I could get somebody. Oh, wait, I forgot to do this again. Let me fix this. I forgot to do the whole like, hey, we're demonetized, so let me put the Patreon up, and then I'll put my Venmo. Let's see here. Let me do all that. I'm going to type and talk at the same time. All right, we are live. It is good. That's perfect. We're here. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon to all my East Coasters. I hope all's well. I hope you had a lovely lunch. Good morning to all my West Coasters. My guest is also on the West Coast. He's up north in Washington State, my old stomping ground. We were talking about some of that off mic. But I hope you had a lovely breakfast. Or if you're having an early lunch, enjoy your lunch. Good evening, if it's evening where you're at. I can't go through every time zone. And how's the future? New Zealand, Australia. If you're up early today, I'm pretty sure it's like really early in Australia, New Zealand. But if you're up early, how's the future? You guys got COVID under control. Can you please figure out climate change for the rest of us? No pressure, but if you could do that, the world would appreciate it. We're counting on you. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. Shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. Before we really jump in, our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. The raspberry pecan, the monk's blend, two of my personal favorites. They supply the tea to Get Your News On with Ron. We might be getting a Ron tea. Fingers crossed, but Ron's Roast might become a thing somewhat soon. We're talking about some ideas for that. But in the meantime, check them out, ZT.com. They supply the tea to this show. The show is run by, the tea shop is run by a friend of the show, Jeffrey. You can get their tea online, support an awesome independent business. Our friends over at triageoil.com, TRIAGE oil.com. Trendy Name makes topical pain oil that you put on your body. I use it on my neck. It has worked wonders. I appreciate all the care packages, especially when you include the guitar picks. That makes me happy. So check them out over at triageoil.com, and he educates the public on cannabis issues. And last but certainly not least, you guys know this. Right now, the YouTube channel is demonetized. That should be changing soon. We had to go through some transitionary stuff here at the show, and we had to reapply. So I'm working on fixing all that. But in the meantime, if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, the best way to do it right now is to become a patron, patreon.com/Ron Placone. For a give what you can level. You get all kinds of perks. I'll even make you a theme song. Been getting some theme song requests for 2021, and I'm looking forward to pumping out some more themes. I've done theme songs for people's shops that they own that have been used in radio commercials. I've done theme songs for other people's podcasts. They're patrons. They have their own podcasts. I've done theme songs for them. And I've even done theme songs for couples. A theme song that I did might be used at somebody's wedding. How cool is that? That's I feel a little bit of pressure, actually. Like sometimes I think about that. I'm like, man, if they ever break up, they're gonna be like, "Wow, Ron, I don't want to check his stuff out anymore." You know, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so yeah, patreon.com/Ron Placone, great way to do it. And I also included my Venmo, which is just Ron-Placone. So for those of you who are on stable ground and want to contribute to the show in that way, that's the best way to do it since we cannot currently accept super chats. And I'm working on changing that. All right. Without further ado, I am so excited to talk to this guy. So my guest today blew the whistle on Comcast. He was working at Comcast, and he blew the whistle on some shenanigans they were doing. We're going to check his tweet out here real quick. This is Chase Roper, and here's what he said. I just quit working for Xfinity Comcast. I want families to know that the Special Essentials program they offer to low-income households for $9.95 a month is only 25 Mbps and in almost every case, not an adequate speed for children to do their Zoom online classwork. This tweet went viral. He has been contacted by several outlets, including the Wall Street Journal since then. And he has an entire thread here. And we got him today because coincidentally, he's also a comedian up in the Northwest. I used to live in Seattle, so him and I have some mutual friends. But without further ado, please welcome to the show, Mr. Chase Roper. Chase, how are you, buddy?
Hey, hello. I'm doing well. How are you and everybody? Nobody else can answer but you. But I'll assume they're all doing good. They've had their breakfasts and lunches.
They've
I'll,
had their meals. I always make sure everyone's had their meals.
I'll have to get up and have my East Coast breakfast time, and then wait 3 hours, and then I do second breakfast West Coast style.
Are you a breakfast cuisine guy? I talked about this on the show yesterday a little bit. Like, I'm not a big breakfast food guy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
for me, it's like my first meal might come at like 11 or something, but
Mhm.
it will be just whatever I want. Like, it might be like spaghetti or something, really.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
are you
I'll do
that?
that. I'll do that too, but I am a breakfast food fan. I'll do the breakfast for dinner, but I've never done I've never woken up and made myself a savory dinner for breakfast. It's gonna be breakfast.
I've done that. I mean, I don't know if I've like made it per se, but I've totally been like, it's 9 a.m. I have some leftover lo mein and it looks good. I'm doing
That's
it.
pretty. Yeah, that's something I'll do. I'm just not gonna mash potatoes and make a dinner at 10 a.m.
So let's jump into this, man. I have your tweet here, but what exactly is Comcast doing right now? Like what caused you to say I've had enough? I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is also just on top of everything else. This was like the straw that broke it for me, because doing sales in a high pressure environment, trying to upsell everybody on every phone call when everyone's struggling during a pandemic, just felt bad. I'm probably just not like a good salesperson, but also there's some things that I think that should not be happening. So what I'm referring to in that tweet is, and also this is ridiculous that I'm doing this about a tweet. This is crazy.
This is the digital age we live in, man.
I know.
This is like, well, and we're going to talk more about like just your personal experience too, but let's first go like, what exactly did they do?
So there's a program that they've always had available called Internet Essentials for before I worked there, and I was there for almost 2 years. And Internet Essentials is touted by Comcast as being a program for low income people or households. They either have kids that are on free reduced lunch, or they receive Medicaid, Medicare, or disability, or Section 8 housing, people that are like in need, right? They apply, and then they get to have a equipment rental, internet connection for $10 a month, basically. And that internet speed is 25 megabits per second on the download, and then 3 megabits per second on the upload. Before the pandemic, that's adequate for a student or two to log into their Google class and submit their homework. Upload a file or email their teacher. That's fine. It's not going to run multiple things on Netflix or something like that. It's not great.
But would it be would like basic streaming be possible? I mean, could you watch like a YouTube video? Could you?
I mean, I would talk to people who claim that they had that program and were running 5 smart TVs with no problem, and I would just count them as lucky, because most people I talked to were calling in who had the program already, and they're like, my kids can't game while I'm watching YouTube or Netflix. And you're like, well, yeah, the upload speed's not really enough to do all of that. But with everybody working from home all of a sudden, and students having no other option than remote schooling from home, that's not enough. And, I was getting phone calls from teachers and parents that are concerned that their kids are missing out on their education. And my only solution for them was to upgrade their speed, which means this thing that is the only thing you can afford, you need to pay us 6 times that minimum. And that still won't fix it. The first regular internet speed, which is that Comcast has, is like 100 megabits per second, and the upload is 5. And then the next tier up is 200 down, still a 5 megabit per second upload. The middle tier, which is now 400, has a 10 megabit upload. If you're not in that double digits upload and you've got 3 or 4 kids, you're not going to be able to have them all live stream with their class environment at the same time. And maybe mom and dad or just mom is trying to do their job too, and they can't do that. And that's making a profit off of those people. At that point, they need access to education, and I'm sure it's not just Comcast. I'm sure other corporations, like providers, are doing the same kind of thing. But you're advertising yourself. You're putting ads out on TV and online about what a great thing you're doing for the community,
right,
to make sure kids can stay connected. And it's actually not working. And when people call in to apply for it, sales reps, which are the customer service department, are having sales conversations, because if they don't, they'll be getting bad grades on their calls. They will miss out on commission opportunity. So they're still doing like the sales process and trying to talk you into buying something different. And it's just, that shouldn't be happening that shouldn't ever be happening for those types of families, but it shouldn't be happening during this pandemic, like, for sure. And I just saw a tweet. I just saw an ad for that program, and I had quit a few days before, and it just pissed me off. It just felt like people should know that they are well aware that this isn't adequate, and yet still that's the only thing they're giving families. Some schools get it for free, and it's not enough.
Well, and one of the missions of this show, which is one of the reasons I reached out to you, is that, I firmly believe the internet is a public utility in our life, and it needs to be treated like one, which means we should have municipal broadband, which is city-owned internet, all across the country. And that's something that, we try to really promote on this show and try to pursue on this show. I mean, I'm trying to get it in my own community where I live. And, this is such a testament to that, where, the internet kids need it to learn. They can't go to school now without it. And when you have a for-profit cable company in charge of things, when they can't go to school and learn, not you, but the company has to tell them, oh, give us more money. Well, I don't have more money. I haven't worked in 9 months. And, the federal government has just forgotten its people. I mean, that's absolutely batshit insane. It'd be like, and I know this isn't like a perfect analogy because, water is something that if you don't have it, you will straight up die. But it's in the league of, as if like our water supply, some people, their water was just trickling out of a faucet, and it takes hours to just fill up a glass of water, and they call you and they're like, oh, my water, I don't get enough water for my children on a daily basis. And you say, well, you got to give us more money and your sink will work better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beyond messed up. And I get it. It's not quite the same. Without water, you will die. It's not, but it's still a utility. I mean, the internet is still, think of all the things you can't do without an internet connection. Especially during a pandemic, some people, they do need it for food because they can't go out right now. And anyway, I know. And
I agree. Same conversation.
Just so maddening.
I would have this conversation with customers on the phone just because it's who I had to talk to when we first all got sent home and, stuff was shutting down. I couldn't imagine going through this pandemic without all of the things the internet affords us right now. If this had happened 10 years ago, we wouldn't have Instacart, we wouldn't have Lyft and Uber, we wouldn't have the ability to do Zoom and Google classes like this. Like, that stuff was like in its infancy, and now we have it. And it just, I think, shows exactly, like you said, that's how important the internet is. I always use like the power company as like my analogy to it. I felt like if someone called me for internet and I'm supposed to have a conversation about who's using the internet in the house and how are you using it, so I can figure out how I can pitch other stuff to you and different speeds. If I move into an apartment and like Tacoma Public Utilities asks me how many people are using the electricity in the apartment and how many things do I plan on plugging in at the same time, I would want to say everything at the same time. Just give me all of the electricity and charge me for what I use. The internet should be like that. I shouldn't be upsold other products and limited on how much internet I have access to. I'm like, well, if you want to be able to plug in, use your washer and dryer while you have the TV on, it's going to cost you this much more per month. But you can save some money if you get TV and this typewriter.
If you upgrade, if you upgrade to our Ben Franklin with a boner package, you are going to get it all.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just nuts. Like when you look at, there's all kinds of those analogies out there, and it just really brings it back to how absolutely batshit crazy this all is. So, let's talk a little bit about your experience then. So you kind of just snapped and you were like, F this. How did you quit? Did you like walk out? Did you do one of those like, fuck you, you're cool? Like, did you do one of those?
No, I wish. It's so much more impersonal because everything's remote. So all my communication is over like Microsoft Teams, and like a group text chat.
You'd have to tag everybody like fuck you at you're cool.
Yeah. It was sort of more gradual where it took me some time. I wanted to have a job ready to go to before I quit, for one. And I decided to apply for FMLA. I got intermittent medical leave for mental health from my therapist. So I was able to take time off whenever I needed without warning, and they can't ask me why. And I could use that time to find a new job. And also, like, there were just mornings where I could not face putting my headset on and answering phone calls because I knew that the majority of the calls were going to be people who are struggling, and I have to sell them more things. And
now, when you say
felt like shit.
When you say the majority, I mean, like, what are we kind of talking guesstimate, like just numbers wise? I mean, what would a typical hour be like?
Before pandemic, most of my phone calls were people who didn't have service and they're looking to get service for the first time. Mm-hmm. And a small fraction of those people already had service and were looking to make a change or maybe asked about internet essentials. After the pandemic, like 70% of my customers were existing customers that already had service and either wanted to lower their bill or fix their internet speed somehow, or they were wanting to apply for internet essentials. I rarely got brand new people, in the summertime, a lot of calls, people were moving, and then you're just moving their stuff to a different address. But, it used to be primarily brand new people, and then you're just pitching them all these services. But after the pandemic, there's people who had service and lost their job. I mean, the first 2 months were people like, hey, I lost my job, but I need internet. What do I do? And you're just like removing TV and removing whatever services they have and lowering their internet speed to get a bill that they can afford. And then telling them, well, we're not going to disconnect anybody's service. That's all on hold. So you'll just be able to keep your connection. It'll be lowered to that 25.3 speed if they don't pay their bills. And then it basically is unusable at that point. But those phone calls just got harder and harder to deal with. And I think that a lot of salespeople found success in just not being upfront and pitching packages and plans that they know really aren't adequate, but that's not their problem. So sell it.
Wow. And that was that encouraged?
No, Comcast is really careful to not have things in writing that say, tell customers that this will work when you know it won't. But if you're just not very specific, then you're technically okay. And so it's definitely encouraged.
Like give me an example. Like what kind of things would people say?
If a customer called in asking about, like, let's say the Internet Essentials program, right? Hey, my kid's counselor sent him home with this flyer. I guess we qualify for this special program and we need an internet connection for his schoolwork. I would have to say something like, absolutely, let me help you out with that. I'm glad you called in, like, be appreciative and whatever. And then ask them who's using the service in the house and how are they using the service. But in my own natural conversational way, so I can see, like, how many kids are there, what's their need. Oh, well, they're going to be doing Zoom class work and I have to work from home. All right, do you guys do any like streaming? Do you guys watch Netflix? Like, yeah, oh cool, did you watch this show? Talk about a thing they watch. And then after you talk to them for a bit, you say, I can definitely help you out with this Internet Essentials application, but just so you know, the speed is 25 megabits per second and the upload's only 3, so it's really not going to be enough to support all 3 of your kids doing class at the same time. I do have another option for you. This really cool package. It's 100 megabits per second, and I don't say the upload speed. The service also comes with the Xfinity streaming app, so you can watch your local channels for like news. Plus, you guys can still stream on it. You guys like to watch, XYZ that like you said, and because you guys, you're in an apartment. This has a backup landline, so if you guys need to call 911 for whatever reason, hopefully you don't, but you guys will have that option available to you too. And that's only going to run you about $67 before tax. How about we do something like that? And then they'll be like, yeah, that sounds great. I mean, mostly
the upload is still insufficient.
Yeah, the upload's still insufficient. But now that sales rep sold 3 lines of business on one call, so that pads their close rate towards their bonus for the end of the month. And they get a triple play payout, a 3 product payout of an extra $30 for commission. So they just like made money off that one phone call. But that's really not going to be enough speed. But to sell somebody who can only afford $10 a month a triple play with a speed that will work, it's going to cost them over $120 a month. So they're going to shoot for this tiny skinny bundle is what the sales reps call it. And I just refuse to do that when I know that won't work. And this kid needs access to school. That's ridiculous.
So it's like, here's something incredibly insufficient. Here's something still insufficient, but slightly better. And we really get a nice profit margin here. So go for this middle. Is that essentially what they? So it was like you 100%. You were really just paying for marketing. At the end of the day, they were selling you marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Let's go to your tweet for a little bit,
Sure.
And then I want to talk about your experience with the tweet. But so I agree with this sentiment, by the way. The only reason to pay them for live TV is sports. I do just agree with that in general. I'm actually not a Comcast customer because that's not in my area. But all right. Now, keep in mind, too, that they are raising rates and fees while our country faces this nightmare. What kind of fees were they raising? Like what rates were going up?
Couple of things. So the TV broadcast fee was raised by like $2 to $3 depending on the region that you live in. That's those hidden fees that everyone says TV providers do.
So wait, time out. So they were raising the fees that you usually don't see right in your face, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I
oh my God,
we send those, like if we send somebody like a agreement over the phone, they have to like open a text message and see the terms of the agreement, and those fees are all listed out. So that would always be a conversation with everybody. But if you are a experienced agent there, when you pitch somebody the price for whatever this bundle is you're selling, you're including that fee in your number so that it's not a sticker shock when they see this total. It looks right. But it is an arbitrary fee. The Comcast website just says this is to cover the cost of what networks charge Comcast for carrying their feed on their cable.
So that's passing the blame.
It's passing the blame. And we don't know what the networks are charging. That's not public information. So it's just an arbitrary number that they say, well, we have to raise this now. Like really, during the pandemic, we're going to add another $2 to $3 to everybody's bill to millions of customers. That's just to grab more money. To me, is how I feel about it. I don't think it cost more money. There were no live sports, but they still charged a regional sports fee. That's the other TV, type of fee that they put on a bill. So there's that. The other thing that they did,
Chase, there's just to interject an aside here. You and I are both comics, and so we both know this. There's a reason Bill Hicks had a very famous bit about people who work in marketing, and This is the reason right
Yep.
here. Please continue.
Yep.
And anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, look up that bit after the show. But please
Yep.
continue, Chase.
Yeah. The other thing that they did was they raised the overall pricing on all of their services, individual services and bundles by $10 so that they could offer a discount of $10 if you subscribe to automatic payments. Now, if you were an existing customer, your bill didn't just go up by $10. But if you called in to change your plan, like your contract had run out or you wanted to add a new thing to it, that was going to undo the lesser priced, I guess, version of that service and add $10 to it and then force you to do automatic payments to get that $10 off again. So those two things happening at the same time, and then announcing that there's a data cap on all the accounts in the middle of this I mean, that would happen at the end of June. And they're like, hey, there's a limit. It's 1.2 terabytes. And if you want unlimited data, it's $30 more a month. That's just it's crazy.
Well, let's transition into that because I wanted to talk about that. And since it came up naturally, we'll go here now. During the pandemic, and Cass, by the way, just to be just to be thorough here, Comcast is not the only guilty culprit of this. This is big as a whole. I mean, we're talking Comcast because that's where you worked, but this is not just unique to Comcast. But during the pandemic, when it first started, I think pretty much every cable company, they lifted these data caps, which proved, by the way, everybody was online. Everybody was online for work, for school, and guess what? The sky didn't fall, folks. Which proves something most of us knew all along. These data caps are just price gouging bullshit. There's no reason for it. It makes no sense. There's no reason for it to ever exist. They didn't really do anything for anyone. They just basically, again, they just lifted a bullshit marketing mechanism and said, oh, we're not going to charge you this thing that we didn't need to charge you in the first place. Comcast, and I'm sure some other companies have done it too, but I'm pretty sure Comcast might have been the first. Comcast has now rolled that back. So what exactly did they do? Because I know now they're imposing data caps during the pandemic.
And these could be different. I'll just for the interest of like fairness and full disclosure, some things are marketed and ran differently in the East Coast division through Xfinity than the West Coast. Like plan pricing and stuff are different. So I don't know if there was.
Doesn't state law have something to do with that too? Like, aren't there some variation?
Yeah. So in the East Coast, I don't know if they always had the data cap, but pre-pandemic, there was a data cap on the West Division accounts. It just was never talked about, and most people never went over it. At least pre-pandemic, it wasn't real common to go over it. And if they really needed unlimited data, it was $50 more per month. Then Comcast, seemingly with these other providers, out of the kindness of their hearts, removed the data caps when the pandemic broke. And I found out yesterday that was actually the FCC's doing. I read a CNN article. The FCC was like, can we please not turn off anybody's internet service and not charge for data caps while we figure stuff out? And then they put like a June deadline for that sort of handshake agreement. Once that June deadline hit, everybody went back to, let's charge them for going over this data cap again, right? What Comcast did specifically is reinstated the 1.2 terabyte data cap and then offered two different levels of equipment rental. You can rent their modem router, they call their gateway, for $14 per month, or you can do what they called X-Fi. What was the name of it? Unlimited, I think. Yeah, X-Fi Unlimited. That was the modem rental and unlimited data for $25 per month. So like an extra $11. And if you owned your own modem and wanted unlimited data, it would cost you $30 per month. So you save $5 by getting unlimited data and renting the modem through them. So and they did that at the end of June.
Now, why do you think that was the timing on that? And what did you see from the inside? Because obviously they had to have known that they're just being horrible. I mean, they have to know that. So how was it kind of sold to you guys? I mean, I saw the kind of marketing because I covered it on this show.
Mhm.
I saw what they explained where they're like, look, nobody comes close to these data caps. And I'm sure a lot of people don't. That's not a straight up lie, but like that was kind of how they tried to sugarcoat it. They're like, look, this is just no one really reaches. Don't worry. And it's like, yeah, we're in a pandemic and you're imposing data caps. We're in a pandemic for people. So what about the people who needed this for work and they maybe reached the data cap now? Should they charge? Are they going to have to like try to charge their place of employment because they need it for their job now? So it's a mess. So how was that kind of on your from your insider perspective? How was that like rolled out?
It's really kind of presented to us as a great feature and solution for customers
What?
because the data limit is going to cost them $30 per month. But now we're giving them the option, if they are renting our modem, to just add unlimited for $11. So it's an amazing benefit to a customer who is already probably going to rent a modem. And those two different tiers were available just before the pandemic, but then, the shit hit the fan. They just kind of all went on hold, and then they re-rolled it out, kind of relaunched this whole data cap and unlimited data options after the fact. It felt terrible to me. It just felt like the wrong move, and I complained to my wife about it. And then just weeks and weeks of dealing with these kinds of phone calls and having to sell bullshit to people. It was just absolute arbitrary bullshit to me. And it just felt worse and worse. So yeah, it's like, I got to get out of here.
What was the work culture like? I mean, were there other people around you that were kind of like, this is evil bullshit? Or did everybody else, and I'm sure there's not like a one blanket statement for every single person, but was it more people drank the Kool-Aid, or was it more, we all know this is ridiculous, but I mean, what are we going to do right now?
It's a pretty healthy mix of both, but I definitely had coworkers that hate it. I had a supervisor that left. He gave 2 weeks notice, and then 2 days later, he just left. 4 other supervisors from our call center walked out. And I mean, there's a lot of turnover in call center sales type jobs to begin with,
Sure.
but usually Comcast is like developing and moving people up into supportive leadership roles and then bringing in new sales agents. But there was about a 2-month period where it just seemed like we were losing more and more people. And then the result there was then the phones are back to back, phone calls. You hang up and there's another call immediately because there's not enough people to answer everything, I have a friend who's still working there who hates it, but hasn't done anything else.
When the workload increased,
Mm-hmm.
did they give you guys any kind of a raise?
No.
Of course
At
not.
the very start of the pandemic, like most companies with essential workers, they gave everybody a very minimal boost in pay. I mean, like maybe not even $1. There was just some sort of raise for a month because they anticipated that we were going to be just bombarded with phone calls that we couldn't sell things on. And so to help compensate for the lack of ability to earn commission, they just kind of give us a little bit of extra pay, field all of the calls, handle everything, and then business as usual the next month. Once baseball came back, they're like, all right, the world's back to normal. Sell video, everything's normal again. Data caps are back, TV fees are going up. Here we go. Life is normal. And that was what the culture was like. Everything's back to normal. But I don't think myself or anyone else on my team ever felt like things were normal in our lives. It sure felt like and still feels like the world's on fire. And they're like, but hey, make more money for us than you did last year. Thanks. Or you're fired. Like, oh my God.
Or you're fired?
I mean, if you don't, every agent has a scorecard that's kind of comprised of a lot of different metrics. And if you don't meet the expectations of one particular metric twice, like 2 months in a row, they'll put you on a coaching plan and then you're let go if you still can't. So, You
So
really
you
feel a
still
lot of
had
pressure to perform.
you still had high sales expectations, even
Yes.
despite the pandemic. They didn't put any of that on hold for any
Oh
employee.
no, like for instance,
That is psychotic.
yeah, you used to have to, on every call, talk about the Xfinity mobile service. Then after the pandemic, I mean, the month the pandemic caused all the shutdowns, it became you have to sell 3 mobile phones per month to meet this metric. And then the month that I quit last month, it was 14 mobile phone sales. So they just kept exponentially raising all of these
During a
goals
pandemic. Oh my
during a pandemic.
God. Wow, dude. I mean, first of all, here's a couple things that really scare the shit out of me. We're talking about how all the cable companies do stuff like this. So I have, some colleagues that I know and that, are very active in the municipal broadband space. So they rub elbows with some of the big cable companies because they have to in their jobs, even though they're basically threatening their line of work. Basically, I mean, they're kind of the opposite of big cable, but they still have to brush elbows with them for the digital divide to be closed. And what some folks have said to me privately, so I'm not going to say any names, but some folks have told me, whose judgment I trust, that if they had to give a gold star to the worst of the worst culprit, it actually wouldn't go to Comcast. Comcast always gets like the worst publicity, but they're saying for as bad as Comcast is, AT&T is actually a little bit worse. I can't speak to that directly one way or the other. But I have been told by sources I trust that AT&T is actually even worse, which is wow. I mean, based on everything you're telling me right now, if this is not the bottom of the barrel.
I mean, I would field a lot of calls from people who were leaving AT&T and Uverse and saying that they're fed up and they're not going to deal with it anymore. But I just assume that there's an equal number of people jumping ship from Comcast and going to the other provider and saying the exact same thing.
And so there probably is.
There probably is.
Wow. I mean, it's just so. I mean, you live in the Northwest. You're in Tacoma, Washington. I mean, was there any moment where you and your wife and your cats just kind of look north and we're like, what if we just drive a few hours and the border person's a really understanding human? Like, did that ever cross your mind?
Oh, we talk about that all the time. What other countries would be great? But I also have kids, and their mom probably wouldn't like me leaving the country, and also I wouldn't see them. But I really have had serious conversations where, hey, if my kids were all grown adults, I would probably not stick around.
It's weird, man. I don't have kids, and I don't know your situation, but I feel like if I did, I would feel more pressure to leave, and I of course I'd want them to come with me. Like I would feel more pressure to, like, if I had kids right now and they were, living with me, I would feel a little bit of pressure to leave the country for their sake.
Oh yeah,
to give them a better life.
It's the co-parenting part that
right. No, I understand.
You got to talk everybody into it.
No, I didn't want to overpry because I don't want to, like.
No, you're fine.
I don't want you to share anything you don't want to share. But
no, that border, it's real tempting. Yeah. It's really. I'm pretty sure they're like, no, none of you no Americans are coming in here.
Oh yeah, no, they're not. But I understand.
I really can't blame them.
Yeah, I can't blame them either. Well, so let's talk about your experience then. You tweeted this out. Well, we'll go ahead and bring it up again. You tweeted this out. Now this tweet I wanted to ask you about, but I think we kind of already explained it. Many agents on the phone will tell people that a TV, internet, landline bundle with 100 costs less than internet only, and it'll work just as perfect for your household. But this is where you brought up how they don't bring up the upload speed, so it's actually inefficient internet. But they just sold you the marketing of all these other products that people probably aren't really going to use. I mean, I use my landline every single day, but I'm an exception. Actually, I don't have a freaking landline. I don't know anyone who does. So it's like, I'll give you a landline.
Oh,
Oh,
so many
woo!
agents will say that they do have a landline, and here's why they have it, and why they
Oh,
use it.
wow.
And
That is,
I
and they keep a straight face. They don't just start laughing at
definitely,
themselves.
definitely it. And the
Wow.
common thing to tell them is that when you call 911 from a cell phone, it doesn't give dispatch your address. So most commonly, if someone lives in an apartment, you can use that angle to sell one, because if you call 911 or your kids call 911 and they don't know the address by heart, or they get the apartment number wrong, they're not going to have a way to know exactly what apartment number to go to. They'll go to the building, like they can get a GPS location, kind of
Mhm.
accurate. But no, I mean, I haven't had a landline in 20 years. As long as I've had a Google Voice phone number, like
Yeah.
18 years, I have not used I've used no landline ever.
I've not used one. Yeah, it's been about that. I mean, occasionally, I mean, the last memory I have would have been my freshman year of college. I would occasionally use my dorm phone. And
Hmm.
in fact, this is man, I guess this is dating both of us a little bit here, but I one of the things whenever I was in college and I was a freshman, and you were always trying to talk to people and meet people, um, you could always kind of subtly tell if a girl wasn't that into you if she gave you her dorm room landline number and not her cell phone.
Right,
That was
right.
either the person didn't have a cell phone, which did occasionally still happen then. It wasn't super common, but it did happen. Or they weren't that interested in you. So you can call them if you want, but chances are they don't really want to go on a date with you.
Right.
That was sort of like, that was a subtle way of letting someone know like you weren't interested. Here's a dorm room phone number.
Yep.
Fun times. But anyway, so you put out this tweet,
Yeah.
and so it started going viral. Obviously, 182.1 thousand likes.
It's crazy.
So how did that like walk me through that from your perspective? Like you just put it out there, hey, I'm quitting my job. How
Yeah.
fast was it? I mean, I think I saw it. Now, a mutual friend of ours is a guy named Brett Hamill, who,
Mhm.
Brett, and Brett and I have a lot of similar interests. He's been on this show before. Um, I think I saw it from him. And as soon as I saw it, I retweeted it. I think shortly after, a few hours later, I texted him and asked if he could put you and I in touch. But so how quick was it? I think it was at about 2,500 likes when I saw it. And then
Yeah.
I retweeted it. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah.
walk me through that from your end.
It, like most of my tweets, I had about 2,000 Twitter followers, and I get on average between 5 and 10 likes. I'm mostly it's mostly jokes. It's mostly ideas of jokes, not
Mhm.
even really a full form joke. I would probably tweet out. And I don't know, I was just in a mood. I had a lot of time on my hand. I quit the same day as the insurrection, and then like 4 days go by and I see this ad for that essentials program, and I just got pissed and it was like, man, I just quit working at this job and this thing doesn't work. And then I don't know, when it hit like 100 or so likes, and Brett retweeted it somewhere before the 1,000 mark, um, it started really gaining traction, and then my phone notifications were just never ending.
Mhm.
Always like this, someone so and so liked it, so and so liked it, to where I had to like turn off notifications. And when it hit the 1,000 something mark is when I was continuing to add to the thread after that, just because I had a lot of thoughts to share. And
Mhm.
somewhere around that 1,000 something, I added at the bottom, like I could write a little blog post about this if anybody's interested. And then it just kept going. It
Now,
was
have you
so
since
bizarre.
written that blog post, by the way?
Yeah, it's somewhere in that
Okay.
thread.
Well,
It's
we'll make
somewhere down
sure.
there.
All right, we'll make sure that when the clips go out to this later, we include that blog
Oh,
post
thank you.
in
Yeah,
every clip, and we'll include it in the description for this
sure.
live stream as well. So it happened then, I guess, like 24 hours. Is that a fair that's
Yeah, yeah.
okay?
My wife came home that evening from work.
Was she impressed? Was your wife into it?
She had no idea till she got home. I didn't mention it. I just kind of let my phone I let Twitter do its thing.
Is she on Twitter too?
Yeah, she is. Yeah. She's a comic as well up here in the Northwest, but she had just started about 4 or 5 years ago when I met her. So she does like a tweet a month. It's not her thing.
Yeah, some people they're really into Twitter. I mean, my wife, it's funny, my wife is into Twitter at all. She has an account that she doesn't really pay much attention to.
Yeah.
And sometimes Twitter does just randomly unfollow people. And
Mhm.
Twitter unfollowed my wife from my
Oh
account.
no, that's a conversation to have.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, you're not following me," and she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're not following me anymore. Apparently, one of my jokes upset you,
Yeah.
and you unfollowed me."
And
But
blocked me. Really odd.
had you? But yeah, so your wife sees this and she's like,
Mhm.
"Nice,
Yeah,
you got viral traction."
So that's pretty interesting. Went to bed. It
Did
was
she
at like
cook dinner that night? Was it like, "I'm gonna treat you. This is your
I
night"?
think there was an extra spark and energy in the air that evening. I think she did make dinner, among other things. The
Good
We went
job,
to
buddy.
bed. Thank you. We went to bed and it was like at 40,000 likes. And I thought there's no way this is gonna keep going. And I checked my phone in the morning just out of curiosity, and it was over 100,000. And I was just like, this is insane. And then that's when, I'd already like talked to you and I talked to Brett, and then like New York Magazine is emailing me, and Wall Street Journal is contacting me on LinkedIn, and which is they're lucky I even saw it. And then
Yeah, no shit.
and
Dude,
yeah, I was like,
I
what?
contacted you on LinkedIn.
Oh, we're Wall Street
You're
Journal. We
one
use
of the most
LinkedIn.
powerful. That is so lame.
It was. I was like, okay.
First of all, I'm just, you have been contacted by these outlets, but to my understanding, nobody has published anything yet. So,
No,
you know,
I think they're also from my conversations with them, and then there's the Philly Journal, which is where Comcast is headquartered, which I was very excited to take part in anything that could help write something in a newspaper in their hometown. Hit them where it hurts. Um, they're all working on a larger story already about this data cap issue and this essentials program, either combined or different angles. And they just wanted to talk to a person who just recently worked there through all of this. So it really isn't like going to be about me and my dumb tweet, but it as a resource of information. And so I think that in the next coming weeks, probably sometime after the inauguration, we'll see something from somebody. Yeah, it kind of I kind of got anxious. I don't put a lot of pressure or anything on myself or a tweet to perform well or anything, but having so many people contact me in platforms where I don't have links anywhere on Twitter meant that they're like researching me and trying to figure out how to contact me, and that was a weird feeling. So my wife helped me get over that, and then I had a friend. Yeah, and I had a friend call me and say like, "Hey, my wife just texted me and told me a coworker told her that she should follow Chase Roper on Twitter. What are you doing?" Like, so those kinds of things have people I didn't tell anything to are finding out from third parties that this tweet's blowing up and mentioning my name, and they're like, "I know that idiot. That's just my dumb friend." Yeah.
he's the Comcast guy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
the Comcast. So I got to ask you this: has CNN and/or MSNBC reached out to you?
No, neither has Comcast.
Well, I mean that's my curiosity. MSNBC is owned by Comcast. and CNN is owned by Time Warner. So it might be interesting if one of them reaches. I mean, I'm sure MSNBC won't. It'd be interesting if CNN does, just so they can maybe smear a competitor or report on a competitor.
Yeah.
But even though
I talked to ProPublica, and they do a lot of long form investigative reporting that usually ends up getting picked up by those heavy hitters. So, I mean, according to the reporter I talked to, so maybe something like that might, end up somewhere.
Did we just lose Chase? How poetic is that? Oh, there you go. You're back. Are you back? Yeah, there you are.
I'm here.
We lost you for a second.
Oh no!
I think is I think in a way that's beautiful irony that on an episode like this and the issue we're talking about, the internet stalls at some point.
Yeah, it is crazy. But nobody from Comcast reached out to me other than a former employee in their business marketing analysis something division.
What did that person say?
He also had contacted me on LinkedIn and just said, "Hey, we should talk." That's it. And I looked at his profile. It said he presently worked for Comcast, and I just said, "I don't have anything else really to share other than what I tweeted. If you are wanting to know what the issues are, there's a whole thread with thousands of people who are having problems with the company. Reach out to them. This is about those people." Then he wrote back and it's like, "I don't work there anymore. I quit recently, and I can echo everything you just said and then some.
I'm looking for a safe space."
He wants a safe space to complain. Yeah.
No,
but I didn't hear.
So have you guys connected since?
Not yet. I told him to let me know, what's a good time to talk. He's East Coast time. We'll see if he wants to talk. But I thought that was Comcast's way of reaching out, but nobody has. But every publication I've talked to has first talked to Comcast's press division, and they're all aware of the tweet, which just really makes me laugh that they had to have a meeting about my tweet, which is just stupid. And and I like it.
Well, it is a victory though. It is a victory. I mean, it really is. And this is, I want to ask you this too, as kind of a last thing here. What about, the Northwest, especially Tacoma, actually. Tacoma is one of the first places that really started diving into municipal broadband. I mean, they were kind of looking into it even before Chattanooga, Tennessee, to my knowledge, built their thing. Tacoma was really trying to be leaders in this, and to some extent they have been. Has anybody in that space reached out to you?
No, but I've thought about reaching out to them to see what kinds of things I might be able to do to help.
I think you should. I think that's an excellent idea, man. I mean, whistleblowers, which is what you've done. You blew the whistle. That is what you did. I mean, whistleblowers to big cable are essentially important in this entire, I don't know if you want to call it a movement or whatever you want to call it, this entire push for making the internet a utility in our lives. I mean, people who blow the whistle on what big cable is doing, that is very important. Dare I call it essential, Chase?
I think there are people who know a lot more about the I'm not gonna say the word right, but how municipal internet would work. Something I've realized from working at Comcast is that they get in with apartment complexes and multi-dwelling properties or townhome developments, and they get contracts to be the provider for that area. And that I live in Tacoma, and there are people who use Tacoma's, they call it Click Network, the municipal internet for the city.
Right.
It's not available in a lot of apartments.
Right.
Because it's only Comcast in that apartment. And for this to work, we've got to be able to have that option always be available. I live in Tacoma where there's municipal internet, but I can't have it.
Yeah, you need to get it to all the residents. Yeah, it's and a lot of it, like not all the networks available are everywhere, and it's usually because these big cable companies, they work out these contracts, they make this red tape, and the irony of all of it is we're supposed to live in the land of competition,
Right.
But what's more anti-competitive than an organized duopoly, which is essentially what big cable has? How is that quote competitive? I don't think it is.
It's weird. It's all weird
So,
to me.
well, thanks so much for doing what you do, and thanks so much for talking to me about this. I was real excited to get your take on all this. Everybody, follow Chase. Let's pull his tweet up one more time. The viral tweet at Chase_Roper. Follow Chase. Follow him on Twitter. Is there anything else you'd like to plug?
No, I've got a dumb blog, I guess, over on Medium, which is Chase Blogger.
Yeah, and we'll be sharing the
Medium.com.
post.
Yeah, that's
we'll be
it.
sharing the post on all the clips.
The pandemic's removed all fun, entertaining things I did from my life. This is the most I've done in 9 months. So thanks for having me on here. It's been fun.
Absolutely, man, and thanks so much for blowing the whistle on that. And hopefully this is another step in getting municipal broadband all over the country. And I hope you connect with the Tacoma folks, and you all continue that battle up there. So thanks so much, Chase. Everybody follow Chase at Chase_Roper.
Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day, Ron. Thank you.
You too. All right, that was Chase Roper. That he blew the whistle on Comcast, and we got to get his story today. Folks, that was today's show. Tomorrow, it's going to be the inauguration day, and I kind of want to just riff with a buddy on a day like that. So Graham Elwood's going to be on the show tomorrow. Start your inauguration day with us. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're just going to kind of talk about what's going on, and you know what to expect. You get it. It's going to be Graham and I tomorrow, and it's inauguration day, and we're going to be chatting. So Graham Elwood's on the show tomorrow. Folks, right now we are demonetized, like I said. I am working on changing that, but in the meantime, if you want to support the show on the sustainability end, best way to do it, become a patron. You can get your own theme song. You get a patron stream once a week where the replay is only available on Patreon, and I only respond to the patrons. And you get a patron Zoom show once a week. That's a lot of fun. I work on some new material, play some songs. It's a great thing. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. How much is that? It's a give what you can level. So if you're on stable ground financially and that interests you, it's just a give what you can level. It is a tierless Patreon. Whatever you give, everyone gets all the same thing. So if you have a little bit to spare, even $1 or $2 a month goes a long way. If you're not on stable ground financially, don't worry about it. It's a crazy time. There's a ton of things you can do to support the show that don't cost anything. Just like these videos, share these videos. So, make sure you're subscribed. They unsubscribe people all the time. Make sure you're subscribed. Follow Chase on Twitter. You get the idea. All kinds of things you can do. Share it on your social media. That stuff actually does go a long way. And of course, I'm also on the Rockfin. If you join Rockfin, I think it's about $10 a month. If you join Rockfin, you get ad-free content, and you get all the content from myself, from Graham Elwood, from Jimmy Dore, from Lee Camp, from Dave Anthony of The Dollop, from The Convo Couch, from Nico House. Who else is on there? Status Quo, I believe, is on there. Slow News Day and the Action for Assange teams, they're on there. Tina Desiree Berg is on there, which, by the way, our philosophy podcast is coming soon. We're working out the plans for that. We should have more by the end of the month on all that. And I'll, of course, keep you guys posted on all that. And that podcast will also be on Rockfin. So Rockfin's another great way. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in today and for your support. We will be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We'll be kicking off Inauguration Day, Graham and myself. And you know how it goes. You guys are naming some other Rockfin people. In the meantime, Richard Medhurst, Whitney Webb, you guys get it. You know who's out. There's people on Rockfin that you know and love. I think Abby Martin's on Rockfin too. Anyway, yeah. I can name people all day, but you know the drill. In the meantime, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she's on the couch asleep, but she says meow, and I say peace. Peace.